The shadow behind her back. My life could hardly be called perfect, but I had always considered it happy. My name is Catherine. I am 32 years old. My husband David and I met 6 years ago at a charity gala. At that time, he worked in an investment company and made the impression of a confident, charismatic man. He knew how to listen, how to keep a conversation going, and most importantly, he knew how to charm. We got married rather quickly, just a year after we met. His family welcomed me warmly, especially his brother Mark. Back then, he seemed reliable and calm, though he always held himself a little apart as if watching us from the shadows. But I didn't think much of it. We lived like many couples, a house in a good neighborhood, work, friends, trips. Everything was proper and stable. I thought fate had given me what millions dream of, a loving husband and a strong family. But over time, I began to notice changes. David stayed late at work, became irritable. Sometimes I caught a blank look on his face, cold, distant. His phone was always with him, and whenever I came near, he turned its screen down immediately. One night, I woke to the sound of his voice. He was in the study, speaking on the phone quietly, but his words pierced me like a knife. "She has no idea. Everything will look like an accident. I'll come home with an alibi." The world collapsed in that moment. I lay in the dark, holding my breath, and realized he was talking about me. From that day on, I began living a double life. By day, I was the wife, cooking dinner, smiling, making small talk. At night, I collected evidence. I set up cameras, checked his documents, listened to his conversations. The more I learned, the more terrifying it became. He was planning to get rid of me, and not alone. He had a mistress, a colleague from work, a woman I had even met at parties. Together they were building the plan, and the reason was banal: money. I had trusted my husband so much that I had signed part of the business under his name. Now he simply decided to erase me from his path. My soul was torn apart. Scream, run? But I knew, if I left, I would only give them the chance to finish what they had started. I had to play their game. And I played. I drank tea with him in the evenings, listened to his plans, nodded. But when he once handed me a glass of wine, I didn't take a single sip. The flower where I poured it withered the next day. The lad confirmed poison. I gathered all the evidence and handed it to the police. David was arrested. His screams as they led him out in handcuffs still echo in my head. But worst of all was his look. Cold, full of hatred. He hissed, "This isn't over." I thought now I could finally breathe freely, but I was wrong. A month passed. The trial was underway. The evidence was strong, and everything pointed to David spending a long time behind bars. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the game was still going on. Every night I received calls from an unknown number. Silence, just breathing. On my front door, someone left strange scratches, like marks. And then came the letter. No signature, no return address. Inside was a photograph. Me, standing by my bedroom window. Someone had been far too close. I knew. David had accomplices, and they were nearby. A week later came shocking news. His mistress was found, or rather her car, abandoned by the river. The body was never found. Everything looked too theatrical, as if someone had staged the scene. And then I realized the real threat was still ahead. The day before the final court session, I received a second letter, a small key and a short note. "If you want to know the truth, come." The address, an abandoned warehouse on the edge of town. I stared at the key for a long time. It could be a trap. But what if it held the answers? I called the detective, told him where I was going. Only then did I decide to go. The warehouse was dead, empty. Drops of water fell from the ceiling, and every step echoed. The door opened with the key, and suddenly, the light flashed on. Mark was standing before me, my husband's older brother, the one who always seemed the most reliable. "I knew you'd come," he said calmly. In his hands was a folder of documents. "You destroyed everything, Catherine. But it's not too late to fix it." "What are you talking about?" I nearly screamed. "You were in this with him." Mark smirked. "David is weak. He would never have finished it. But me, I wanted more. You thought you had a family? You were wrong. All this time, you were just a piece on the chessboard. The game was always mine. The world spun. Everything I knew turned out to be a lie. I realized he was ready to kill me right there. But I had a chance. I had already turned on the recorder on my phone. Everything he said was already uploading to the cloud. Mark noticed too late. He lunged at me, but I struck his face with a flashlight and bolted outside. Police were waiting. I had made sure to prepare. Mark was arrested on the spot. His screams and rage tore through the night. At the trial, everything became clear. The true mastermind was Mark. David turned out to be just a pawn, a broken man who had followed his brother's lead. All those months I had slept next to my husband, thinking he was the main enemy, when in truth, the real monster had always been close, hiding under the mask of a caring relative. When the judge read the sentence, I looked at them both. David, broken, destroyed, yet guilty. Mark, predatory, hateful, but caught. And at that moment, I understood the truth. People are not judged by words or clothes, not by their smiles. Their true nature is revealed only in their actions. Life had given me a terrible lesson, but I survived. And now I knew, even in the darkest shadows, one can find the strength to endure. I walked out of the courtroom, breathed in the cool air, and for the first time in a long while, I smiled. I was free, but deep inside, I knew the shadows of the past would follow me for a long time to come. The end.